Welcome back to the 5th episode of the inventory system tutorial series, and in today's video let's create a backpack for our character. So let's go to the inventory folder, and inside of here I'm going to create a new blueprint class which is going to be a static mesh actor type, and I'm going to call this backpack master. Let's open this up, and to make life a little bit easier for us, what I will do is go to the third person character as well. And I have something from the previous video, we can close those. And let's see, so we need a lot of functions in our backpack from exactly the same that we have in our third person character. So first what I want to do is copy the find stack function, the whole thing. Let's copy this, let's go to the backpack master, create a new function, call this find stack, paste in all of the nodes. And so connect the execution to the loop and connect the slots right here, and I'm gonna rename this to the item. And as you can see, we don't have a lot of these things, so these things are gray right here. So right click them and create a local variable, since those are the local variables of this specific function. Let's do that for all of them, and I'm gonna create a regular variable for the player slots. There we go. So now we have a variable in here for the slots as well. Now we can compile this, and this gives us no errors and should work just fine. Now let's look for the next function. Find empty slot, copy the whole thing again. Let's go back, create a new function, find empty slot. That's the name, yeah, find empty slot. Paste this whole thing in, execution. Promote to local variable, promote to local variable, and it looks like it's working just fine as well. Now let's look for the next one. Remove amount at index. We can copy the whole thing again. Remove amount at index. Paste that in. Connect this one right here. And here we now need some inputs. So let's see, simply you can open this one up and look. So this is the index right here, which goes to these RI elements as well. So we can actually just drag this one over here and it creates an input pin. Let's call this index. We can also connect this to the get node right here. Now we need one more, which is the amount. So let's drag this one. Yes, this one right here from the minus. Let's call this amount, and let's see what else. I believe that's it. That's all that we need. So just in case, you can simply go back and forward between these to make sure they are exactly the same. Now let's copy the next function, remove item, copy the whole thing again, new function, remove item, paste that one in, and it gives us an error on the find stack. So that means we need to drag in the find stack. And here what we can do is, without deleting this one, we can hold control and drag these over here to replace, so that we don't have to drag these, recreate these kind of recreate these. So now we can drag this one right here, create an item, drag it over here, and I believe this should be good enough. Of course, if we're gonna have some errors, we're gonna find out about those and we're gonna fix these in the following videos, but I think it should be just fine. Now there is one more function that we want to copy. The last one would be the add item to player slot. Let's copy this whole thing again, go to over here, add item to slot. That's what I'm gonna call it in the backpack. Let's connect this one right here, this one right here. So local item, which I'm going to call simply item, and local index, which I'm going to call simply index. Now we don't have these, so right click, create local variable for both of these. Make sure we have everything connected just right and we have all of the variables. Compile and save this, and this should now work just fine. Now we need one last function, which is the add item, but we don't need to copy this part right here. All we gotta copy is everything from right over here. So let's copy this, create a new function, call this add item, paste this in, and you can see we have a lot of red a lot of red right here. So let's drag in the find stack, hold control, reconnect the things that we need to reconnect. Whoops, there we go. So this is reconnected. Let's make sure that we also create the item. So I'm gonna drag it in right here, disconnect this, and then I'm gonna promote the local variable, and I'm gonna set the local variable right here, just like we did in our third person character. So now we have a local item which is working just fine. Let's replace the add item to player slot. So with add item to slot, let's reconnect the item right here, and let's also connect the index to this one right here. Reroute, replace these things. This one right here as well. Delete this. There we go. So this is in place, and we have one more over here. Hold control, reconnect the item, reconnect the index, reconnect these two things as well. Remove this node right here, and I believe we are all set up. So hopefully this should work just fine. Now in our backpack master, what I want to do is create some array entries for the player slots. So let's say I want to have, so I have 3 in a row, so let's say I want to have 15 slots. So I'm gonna create 15 array elements. And since by default I have selected in the S slot structure to have an empty item, it's simply going to create empty items for all of the slots right here. So now in our backpack master, in the view of port, you can see it's invisible. You can't see it. So what I will do is add a static mesh for my backpack. So let's look for a backpack. There we go. So this is my backpack that I have, and I'm going to create another static mesh because my backpack consists of 2 pieces. I have laces and I have the backpack itself. I think these are called laces, not really sure, but yeah. What I want to do here is scale this down a little bit, because if I would drag this into the world, you can see it's massive. So I will select the base component and change the scaling to, let's say, like 0.1. Seems a little ridiculously small. No, seems good. Seems very good. So that's gonna be good for me. That means that now I can go to my third person character, and let's see, event graph on the keyboard, E key. We are doing this very bad thing. We don't want to cast to every single one of our actors. So to prevent this from happening, what we can do is create a new blueprint interface, and I'm gonna call this pickup interaction. Let's open this up. Let's rename the default function to be pickup interaction as well, just like the interface itself. And what I want to pass along is a single input for now, and this is going to be called player, and I'm going to select the third person character since I'm using the third person character class. Now for the interface, that's it, just as simple as it is. Now we can close this up. We're not going to change anything in it as of right now. And now let's fix our pickup first. Let's open it up. And how do we make this work is by selecting the class settings, and here we have the interfaces, and we can add one. So let's look for our pickup interaction. Make sure once you select it, you compile it, because otherwise you're not going to be able to access the event. So here what we can do is right click, and let's look for the pickup interaction event. There we go. So now from here what we can do is simply drag from the player, and just like we did over here, we are adding an item. So here let's add item. Let's connect the item like so, and since this is a regular pickup, we know that the source is the ground. So from the ground we can do a if branch check, just like in the third person character, and on true we can destroy the actor. And the reference is self, since we want to destroy this pickup right here once we have picked it up. So now let's fix things in the third person character. What we can do over here is simply delete this whole thing. And now here from the true route, if this is a pickup, what we can do is do a pickup interaction message. And this node is available across the entire project, only the message. And for the target, let's use the hit actor, and for the player, let's use a reference to self. So since this video is getting a little long, we're not going to attach the visual side of the backpack to our character. We're just going to simply attach the functionality in this video, and we're going to work on the visual side in the following video. And so what we want to do is, in the third person character, we need a new variable called this equipped backpack, which is the backpack master type. Now I believe that's it in the third person character, and we're going to use the same interface to pick up a backpack. So in our backpack master, let's select the self, let's look for a tag, let's add a new element, and let's call this tag pickup. Now this will allow us to use the same interface, so let's click on the class settings, add the pickup interaction, compile this, look for the event pickup interaction node. There we go. Now from the player, what we want to do is get the equipped backpack variable, and we want to check if this is valid. Is valid with the question mark, so it has an execution. And if this is valid, we're not going to do anything, since that means we already have a backpack. But if it's not valid, then what I want to do is set the equipped backpack. And the equipped backpack is, of course, self, since we want to equip this specific backpack. Now, let's see. The next thing that we want to do is probably display the items. So everything should be working just fine. Let's just print hello for now to debug the things and see if it works. So press play. E, there we go, it does say hello, so it means we are interacting with the backpack properly. And it only does it once, since the second time it is already valid. Now let's display the items. Let's go to the UI inventory, the UI inventory panel, since we want to access this thing right here. In the graph, or better yet, let's select this text first, and let's create a binding for this text. So from here, what I want to do is cast to the third person character, not the NMBP, cast to third person character. Let's get owning player pawn. Now from over here, we can get our equipped backpack. And from this backpack right here, we can check if this is valid. Connect the execution, and for the text, now on the two separate occasions, what I want to do is display two separate messages. So on is not valid, you have no backpack, we have backpack. So on is valid, we have a backpack. On not valid, we don't have a backpack. Simple as that. For the text, now let's go to the event graph, and here, as you can see, we are displaying items from the player slots. But what I want to do is move this back a little. Again, get the equipped backpack. Again, check if this is valid. There we go. And if this is valid, what I want to do is, from the backpack, I want to get the player slots. Now we can remove these slots right here, and we can reconnect it like so. So if this is valid, then we can loop through the slots that we have in our backpack. And that means that now if we would press play, press I, you have no backpack. Let's pick one up, press I, you have a backpack with a lot of empty slots in it. Now one last thing really quickly, let's make sure we can actually add items to this. So in our third person character, let's go to the add item, and from the ground it is by default going directly looking for the slots in our player slots. But what I want to do before that is drag in the equip backpack. Again, check if it is valid, if we have one. If we don't have one, if it's not valid, we are connecting it right here. If it is valid, we want to add, actually from the equip backpack, we want to add the item. Add item, and the item of course is the local item right here. And now let's see if this is, let's do a if branch check from this one. If this is true, then we can return true, and if this is false, then we can try to find the stack in our character. So it should look something like this. Now if we compile and save this, press play, go up to an item, press I. There we go, we picked up a log. Let's pick up a backpack. We have a backpack. Let's pick up some pallets, and as you can see, they are getting added to our backpack. So that's gonna be it for this video, and yeah, in the following video we shall try to actually add this backpack visually to our backs so that it's not just laying there on the ground. So thank you guys for watching, and see you guys in the next episode.